Hello and welcome to Abrams Fireside Chats. Not as good as yours, but hey, it's something. Now it's episode 100. Before we get into the main topic, let's get right into the news. First, we're gonna talk about some more controversy in Congress. Donna Shahala apologizes for not reporting stock trades. Representative Donna Shahala on Wednesday apologized for failing to report more than half a dozen stock sales last year after her election in the House. The Florida Democrat said she sold the stocks to avoid any conflict of interest, but missed the deadline for reporting the transactions. "I'm a strong supporter of the Stock Act," she told CBS Miami, referring to the 2012 law that prohibits members of Congress from trading stocks based on information obtained during their official positions. "I missed those deadlines, but it wasn't as if I was doing the opposite of insider trading. I was getting rid of any conflict of interest in the process, but I absolutely missed those deadlines and I apologize for them. It was my mistake and I take full responsibility." Here's a radical idea. How about we ban members of Congress from selling stock? Right? Who's with me? Buying, selling it, just like before you get elected to any position in office, sell all your assets. Okay, I mean, you don't have to sell your house, but I mean, all your financial assets. Let's get rid of those. Jimmy Carter had to sell his peanut farm, remember? And Donald Trump is supposed to have sold all of his stuff, but he gave it to his kids, so that's okay, I guess. Okay, speaking of more money controversies, Brenda Jones took illegal campaign cash from donors doing business with the city of Detroit. Detroit City Council President and former U.S. Representative Brenda Jones accepted campaign contributions that violate state rules against pay-to-play activity, according to a review of the campaign finance records and interviews with ethics experts. During her 2017 bid for re-election to City Council, Jones accepted $5,500 in campaign contributions from then First Independence Bank Chair and CEO Barry Clay, and an additional $4,000 in campaign contributions from the First Independence Bank board member Douglas Diggs. The donations occurred at First Independence had a contract with the Detroit Police and First Pension Fund, of which Jones is president and the City Council is a trustee. Now, this is seems a bit fishy, to be honest. Here's an idea. How about instead of supporting the candidate who did that, how about we support the candidate who doesn't take contributions like that, and instead takes contributions from normal people, like you and me? I'm just saying. Makes sense. Okay, the next story is a name that is getting more and more commonly known in the mainstream, but I haven't been mentioning much on this channel. And then also a name that I have been mentioning much on this channel. Stacey Abrams and Andrew Yang announced push to provide direct cash payments to families on food stamps. Stacey Abrams joined forces with Andrew Yang. That wasn't me screwing up. That was the article I pulled this from. It says right here, Stacey Abrams joined forces Andrew Yang. Okay, so Stacey Abrams joined forces with Andrew Yang on Tuesday to announce the launch of a new campaign aimed at providing $1,000 in direct cash payments to 100,000 families receiving supplemental nutrition assistance programs. The announcement comes as shutdown measures across the country to combat the coronavirus pandemic have put millions of Americans out of work and closed schools, which for millions of low-income students provide free or reduced price meals. The two Democrats unveiled the Project 100 campaign in an effort organized by nonprofit Give Directly, software engineer Propel, and education advocacy group Stand for Children. The effort has already raised $55 million, the group announced Tuesday. This is pretty good, actually. I'll be honest. This is good. These are groups of people who are trying to help out in the best way they can. Though the problem is, I don't necessarily think Stacey's doing this for the sake of being a good person. It stinks to say, but maybe Stacey's only doing this for political gain. Like, I mean, you don't have to know this. I guarantee you, if you're watching this channel, you've already seen like 3 different articles basically saying Stacey Abrams is one of the greatest choices for Joe Biden to pick as VP. We'll probably have to go into the next episode or a future episode to talk about Joe Biden's essentially good VP picks if he actually wants to legitimately win. But we're going to have to be completely honest here. Stacey Abrams, Stacey is fine, I guess, but she's also like Stacey Abrams is a weird figure. She's trying to position herself like sort of like progressive, but also not. You know, like trying to align herself with both wings of the party. Like, I mean, she already has like some of the things that both of these groups like under the bag. She's a woman of color, and you know what? Actually, that's pretty much it. She's a woman of color. She's done decent work, but honestly, at this point, it seems like they're making more of a big deal of Stacey Abrams than anybody really cares for. Like, I mean, think about it. What is Stacey Abrams? What's her thing? What is everything about Stacey Abrams? Let me tell you. Stacey Abrams was a member of the Georgia House of Representatives. Okay, we got that under the bag. She ran for governor and lost. Of course, albeit with many controversies. She lost due to the fact that, you know, Brian Kemp pretty much kicked a bunch of African Americans off the voter rolls, and, you know, that's why she lost. Not at all because she was a bad candidate, because she ran a good campaign, and maybe if Brian Kemp didn't, you know, rig it, she would have won. She, again, like, she was running kind of like a middle ground between the two wings. She wasn't running like a democratic socialist insurgents campaign, but she was running a kind of populist campaign. But then, like, afterwards, she was then brought on to do the official Democrat State of the Union address response, and it was like, really? Her? Like, I mean, she's fine, but, I mean, I don't think she's worth that, I guess. And then she made this weird thing where she kept saying, like, oh, I might run for president. Like, she was one of the many people who were like, hey, I might run for president, you don't know. But she was doing it to a terrible degree. Like, she was going so far as to say, like, hey, I might run for president, but I won't make my decision until December. And it's like, Stacey, we would have had like 3 debates already. Make your decision now. Like, and Joe Biden was even, like, since his campaign was like, from the get-go so terrible, he was already touting the idea of a Stacey Abrams, you know, running mate, like announcing running mate from the get-go with Stacey Abrams. But then Stacey Abrams said, no, if I were to run, I would want to be on the top of the ticket, not on the bottom of the ticket. You know, which made people go, ooh, she might run for president. That was kind of when I started getting tired of her. Like, Stacey, if you're going to run, just run. And then, lo and behold, she's not running for either of the 2 Georgia Senate seats. Even though I guarantee you, she would have won one of them. I don't know which one. But one of them probably could have been flipped with Stacey Abrams. I'm not gonna lie. Like, she was in the same group as Robert Francis O'Rourke, John Hickenlooper, Steve Bullock, like, there was another one, but I forget. Maybe it was that. Maybe it was just those ones that were like, guys, stop your presidential campaigns. Just stop. There's some Senate seats we can flip. You guys need to run for those. And granted, Steve realized, like Steve and John, give them credit where credit is due. They realized, you know what? Yeah, you're right. And then decided to run for Senate. Robert and Stacey decided, nah. But now here's the thing. Stacey, she's been trying to position herself as kind of like the middle ground, but she's kind of been showing a lot more of her stripes, I guess you could say. For example, 2016, she was a Hillary Clinton supporter. For a lot of people, that's just strike when you're out. It's like, no thank you. I mean, many people thought I was the strikeout one out. You're out for Andrew Gillum. Turns out they were right, but we're not going to get into that. Then she doesn't really do much endorsements. She's endorsed ballot measures ever since, but there's only been there's been 4 races that she's endorsed afterwards. John Ossoff in Georgia District 6, the special election. But pretty much everybody was endorsing him. Even Bernie endorsed him at one point, so it doesn't matter. Then she endorsed Carolyn Bourdeau or whatever, in Georgia District 7 in the runoff for the Democratic primary. She was kind of the not corporate, but like centrist, I guess. Then she endorsed Susana Mendoza in the Chicago mayoral election. She's the moderate. She was one of the moderate candidates, but... And the most recent endorsement is in the special election for the Georgia Senate seat, where she's endorsing DSCC's Ralph Warnock. So, yeah. I'll give Stacey credit where credit is due. You know, like, her joining with Andrew Yang on this is pretty good. And she's not Andrew Gillum levels of, badness. But she's definitely no Ben Jealous, I guess you could say. Speaking of money and the coronavirus has actually done another stimulus package. The stimulus passed, but there were 5... This was a official roll call vote. And there were 5 nays and 1 present. The present was from Justin Amash, who always likes to do presents for some reason. I guess he's Santa Claus. The nays were from 4 Republicans and 1 Democrat. Biggs, Buck, Heiss, and Massey. And the Democrat who voted no was Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who you may know has been in part of a hefty debate. Many quote-unquote lefty media groups, like Jimmy Dore, have been saying oh, why did you vote for this AOC? Why did you vote for these terrible stimulus packages? Well, here's her not voting for this one. I guess you could say she didn't vote for this one. And there was some debate over the last one, because the last stimulus package was not a roll call vote, it was a voice vote. Which means, she cannot, there's no official vote. I mean, there's still a vote, but since it's a voice vote, nobody cares. It's weird. Voice votes are weird. They're basically not recorded. No matter who says nay and who says yay, they don't record it. Because normal House votes, they are done by House members going up to a machine, scanning a card, and then choosing yes or no. Unless you can watch the House proceedings and you can see who votes nay, you won't really know who said nay in a voice vote. But now, do we discount and discard any of the people who voted yes? No. I don't think so, because remember, yes, these stimulus votes are bad, but they're looking at it from this point of view. This is what they're going to get. It is good when people like AOC dissent, but they're also going under the knowledge, like, this is very trying times, we can't really be doing this, this, and this. They're basically trying to negotiate a better deal next time around, which stinks, but eventually, but at this point, there's not going to be much you can do. Because Nancy Pelosi, she's flat out stated no on a lot of these proposals, so there's not much they can do, unfortunately. Now, this is something that is interesting. 69% of voters support Medicare for all. Yes, you heard that right. 69% of voters support Medicare for all. And this is hilarious. This polling firm, here's literally their results. In October of 2018, the same polling firm did the same results. Do you want to know what the results were then? 70% of people supported Medicare for all. It went by 1 point. And this is the ironic part, because literally neither of the major candidates will be supporting Medicare for all in the November general election. 69% of voters support Medicare for all. Yeah. Biden's not going to be supporting Medicare for all. He never has, and he never will. That is just the inevitable truth. I don't care if you plan on voting for Biden or if you don't want to vote for Biden. That's just the 100% clear truth. Biden is not supporting Medicare for all. So 69% of voters will not have a candidate to, support. Or will they? Because, remember, Howie Hawkins is on the ballot in most states. He supports Medicare for all. And unlike most people, who's that guy? Sean, who's like, oh, I'm not saying don't vote for Howie Hawkins, but I'm also saying do not vote for Howie Hawkins. I'm just saying, I'm not burning your butt. Look, if you're progressive, it is best that it is your ideologically best choice to vote for Howie Hawkins. Now, I'm not going to fault you for voting Biden if you want to. I don't care. I'm not going to tell you who to vote for, but I'm just saying it is best, ideologically, if you vote for Howie Hawkins. Or, whoever the Green Party nominee is. Everybody keeps going by Howie Hawkins because Howie Hawkins is the, not even the presumptive nominee, but, he's seen as the, one who's most likely to get the nomination. Sorry, Senator Dario, Ian, Ian's not even running anymore, but, I like you guys, but, yeah. If you guys, except for David Earl, were to get the nomination, I'd vote for you too. But anyways, let's move on to the next story. More about Joe Biden. New evidence supporting credibility of Tara Reade's allegation against Joe Biden emerges. Okay, so Tara Reade, during one of her original allegations, mentioned that her mother had called into Larry King Live to discuss the sexual assault allegations. Many people were like, well, which episode? And then she said, well, I can't find the particular episode. Which many people were like, aha! That proves it is fake. Well,
San Luis Obispo, California. Hello.
Yes, hello. I'm wondering what a staffer would do besides go to the press in Washington. My daughter has just left there after working for a prominent senator and could not get through with her problems at all. And the only thing she could have done was go to the press, and she chose not to do it out of respect for him.
Or she had a story to tell, but out of respect for the person she worked for, she didn't tell it.
That's true.
So, technically, this is kind of more proof than Christine Blasey Ford, to an extent. You see, Christine Blasey Ford, she had her therapist notes, and word of mouth, and the calendar. This is a verifiable other person talking about this allegation. So, I mean, yeah. This is pretty cut and dry for most people. I mean, here's the thing. The thing is, this is obvious. This is the big thing. Many people are still trying to diminish this allegations. Still trying to do so. Oh, it's Bernie Bros with the witch hunt. Isn't it interesting that Tara Reade trended on Twitter at 8:14 Moscow time? And it's look, if you don't believe in rape victims, that's fine, but just admit it. You don't have to hide under the whole, but Russia. Now, of course they're going to say, no, I believe what. No, you don't. Tara Reade's a woman. Do you believe her? If not, you don't believe women. That is the literal definition of believe women. This woman is coming forward with her story, and you're just no. Seriously, this is the definition of I don't even, I forget the term, but it's they call it, people who aren't as politically savvy call it, Mick feminism, but this is what's it called? Something feminism, not third wave, maybe third wave, but liberal feminism or something like that. Something like flashy feminism, or media feminism, or something like that. I don't remember. But basically, when you use feminism literally just for a crutch to protect, rich white women, but, anybody else is, left in the dust. Minority women, women who aren't rich and powerful, basically, any woman that isn't rich and powerful is in this crowd. Tara Reade is in this crowd. And as much as, that's the thing. This is verifiable. I mean, technically there's still wiggle room and oh, maybe this is a different thing, but let's be honest. The evidence is just piling up for Joe Biden. It's piling up, showing that this probably happened. So, what do we do now? I mean, scratch that. Not even what do we do. I know what I'm doing. I'm not voting for rapists, I'll tell you that much. And Twitter may have an idea. The hashtag #DropOutBiden was trending pretty much the entire day of recording this. So, I'm just saying, maybe, just maybe, Joe Biden probably shouldn't be the Democratic nominee. And I mean, the thing is, the Trump team is already using this story. They've already been using this story. Not even Tara Reade in particular, because remember, Handsy Uncle Joseph, he didn't get this term out of nowhere. There's verifiable stories showing that Biden has been touching women in weird ways. He doesn't go up to women and go, and just be all normal. It's not normal. But, and I mean, I was talking to this person on this forum, and they still, are just don't believe it. It's I am showing you verifiable evidence. Tara Reade explains that her mother went on a show to talk about these allegations, in a show that aired around the same time the allegation supposedly happened, has this stuff that I just played. What do you want me to do? Invent a time machine so you can travel back in time and see the assault happen in front of your eyes? And he was like, no, I don't want the media to be all sensationalized about these allegations that have no evidence. It's like, what do you mean no evidence? I showed you the evidence. It's not my fault you want to put your fingers in your ears and go, la la la, I can't hear you, I can't hear you. Like, what the fuck, dude? This is 100... I'm saying this. MeToo is dead. I've been saying this. I'm sorry to all of the women who have had legitimate MeToo stories that have taken down legitimately bad people. But the MeToo movement was killed not by the people who hated the movement, but by the people who founded the movement. Because now, literally every single allegation, this will be brought up. This will be brought up. Anytime there's a future allegation by, like, I don't know, whatever politician, they're going to say, well, what about Joe Biden? They were already doing this with Bill Clinton. It's like, now that the feminists, like, terrible logic happened right before your eyes, it's seriously, like, come on. The Me Too movement is dead. Literally, no other person will be taken down by Me Too ever. Because these allegations will be brought up. And the thing is, it's like Democrats, they'll try to blame this on someone else. But it's like blame it on Russia, blame it on somebody. But it's going to be like, you did this. You did this. You're the reason you're going to lose in 2020. You're the reason the Me Too movement died. This is your fault. And you're going to have to live with the consequences. I mean, scratch that. They're not going to have to live with any of the consequences. Like, I genuinely feel bad for the Me Too movement. It did such good things. But now it is literally done for. And it's not even going to necessarily, like, it's not even, like, this is going to be the cycle of sexual assault all over again. We were just getting out of the problems of the sexual assault, like allegations. We were just getting into a time period where it was okay to talk about these issues. We were getting to the point where it was like finally time. Like women who were holding in allegations and were slowly killing them inside could now finally tell the world how bad people this is. Now after this, that cycle is going to be broken. Women are going to go back to holding in their allegations because this is what's going to happen. Like, in the future, I 100% guarantee you, there's going to be a Democratic politician that's going to sexually assault a person. They're going to look at this terrorist stuff and they're going to be like, well, I can't come forward with the allegations now because this is what's going to happen to me. That's the reason why women didn't come forward before, and why the Me Too movement was such a brilliant, wonderful thing. And now, it's gone. It's literally gone. You can't say like, oh, but maybe in the future. No. It is dead. I'm sorry. It's legitimately dead. I've had friends who have told their Me Too stories. It's not gonna happen anymore. People aren't gonna be like hashtagging Me Too to be good. They're gonna do it to make fun of the Me Too movement. They're gonna call out the hypocrisy. Like Kirsten Gillibrand, Alyssa Milano, they're like the forefront of this movement. And they're just sitting idly by as Joe Biden just walks away with the nomination. And like doing the exact same things that they were like mad at conservatives for doing. Conservatives were saying things like, wait for evidence. Let's talk about like this. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. This isn't a good thing. This is a good man who's been doing his whole life doing good things. They're saying this shit. And then it's terrible that this is going to happen. I'm not saying this as like a, haha, I got you, feminists. I'm saying this with like, just legit sadness. Okay, so I guess I'm gonna have to move on off of this depressing topic. Happy 100th episode. Minor party candidate of the day, Blake Hubbard of the approval voting party. This is an interesting political party. You see, as far as I know, this is a single issue party. Okay, so their single issue is the implementation of approval voting. What's approval voting, you may ask? Is it like instant runoff voting / ranked choice voting? Well, kind of, but not necessarily. You see, approval voting is like this. I'm going to use 2016 election again. You go into the ballot booth, and your candidate choices are Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton, Gary Johnson, Jill Stein, I don't know, Daryl Castle, or Evan McMullin. You decide that you're going to cast your ballots for Jill Stein and Gary Johnson. You then submit your vote, and then all the votes are counted. Some people may vote Trump, McMullin, Johnson, Castle. Some people may vote Stein, Hillary. Some people may vote Johnson, Trump, McMullin. Some people might vote McMullin, Trump, and I don't know. Some people may just vote for everyone but Trump. But basically, every single vote is counted, and the candidate that ends up walking away with the most votes wins. So basically, you get to vote for multiple candidates. And whoever has the most votes by the end wins. So it's still winner takes all, but, you know, in a different way. It's an interesting electoral system, but ranked choice voting is better. You know, people will still be like, oh, but possible spoil myth, whatever. Anyways, now let's finally get to the main topic of this video. My political journey. What do I mean by that? Basically, this is just me making a video talking about how I got, like, basically how my politics evolved. It took this from Bad Mouse Productions, that communist guy, and instead of doing what he did and like provide like good visuals and whatever, just decided to make a general script, basically, to talk about this. Whatever. I thought it would be just nice celebration of like me, because I'm a narcissist. Not really, but you know. And it'd be nice to see other people do it. I don't know. Just whoever. So yeah. First, we're gonna get into phase 1, which went from 2000 to 2010. That phase is called Religious Conservative Kid. Now, if you haven't pieced together, that was the year I was born. Basically, when I was a kid, I grew up in like a religious household, you know, which gave me like the basic religious, you know, stuff. Like, you know, Christianity, yay, God's good, cool. And like and even though I wasn't technically raised like that kind of way, I still kind of grew with the basic religious conservative mindset, you know, gay marriage is wrong because the Bible says so. I was never really 100% political per se because I was a kid, but if I could sum my views basically, generally, it would be conservative. Though it's weird because, I mean, I never really, like, and it shows how, like, weirdly unpolitical I was. My first political endorsement, quote unquote, was of Barack Obama. Why? Because he was black. Yes, 100% he was black, so I supported him. You know, McCain was an old white guy, and, you know, Obama was a young black man. You know, and he also had, like, this was when the time where the internet was getting, like, you know, new savvy with politics, you know, like the Obama McCain debate meme and Super Obama World. That was like a online game you could play. I don't know if I could still find it. That'd be fun. And I mean, my favorite presidents of the time were like Lincoln, Teddy Roosevelt, JFK, and Obama. And it's weird, you know, none of those guys are particularly conservative, but, you know, Washington and Lincoln, you know, everybody's like, oh, Washington and Lincoln are my favorite presidents. JFK, it was because I read a book about him and he was pretty cool. Same with Teddy Roosevelt. And Obama because, you know, black. And the first year that my politics kind of started changing was in 2011. And that was when I entered the next phase, which went on for 2 years. Basically, I call it my edgy atheist liberal phase. And that's a interesting story. It's slightly embarrassing, but kind of funny, I guess. You see, the first thing that kind of changed my politics was the discovery that the Blue Power Ranger, David Yost, who played the character Billy, was gay. I know this is kind of embarrassing, but basically my philosophy, my thought process was, if he's gay, then maybe being gay isn't so bad after all. It's stupid, but I mean, whatever. Now, that actually led to something else. I was basically saying, like, if religion was wrong on that aspect, what else were they wrong about? Which led me to watch, like, Amazing Atheist videos, and pretty much decided, nah, that religion thing is just meh. And then, that also was like, yeah, gays, not so bad. And then I also started getting, like, you know, the idea of marijuana being legal, that's pretty cool. But that was also because that was kind of, like, edgy and, like, again, edgy. It was the edgy position to take, so that's why I was for it. But then in 2014 was when I kind of explicitly started getting political. It was when I started watching a particular YouTube channel. In case you can't tell, I'm referring to The Young Turks. And that was when I kind of started getting into the whole idea of, like, liberal Democrat good, conservative Republican bad. You know, I was kind of getting, like, religiously into, like, you know, Democrats and liberalism. Like, liberal is cool, bro. And then the next phase kind of started happening. It was in 2015. It was, well, the 2016 election was getting underway. Trump was obviously a no-no for me. And I didn't really like Hillary Clinton, so I was just like, dang it. Hillary is the only person that I'm going to have to support, it's going to have to support against Trump. I don't like Hillary that much. But then I was browsing the 2016 candidates, and that's when I noticed a little person on the left of her. I clicked his Wikipedia page and searched him on Google. I'm like, who's this guy? Bernard Sanders. And he stood for literally everything that I did. He loved the gays. He loved the weed. He wanted universal health care. And his candidacy was, like, hardcore FDR Democrat. And I'm like, yeah, I'm all in. And I mean, when he was saying Democratic Socialist, I emphasized the Democrat part. Like, remember those, like, emails that people are always, like, getting in their feed that they don't really like? Yeah. I wasn't like that. I signed up for those emails voluntarily, and I also kind of got way more into TYT, as they were the most go-to of the media people. Like, they were the most, they talked about Bernie a lot, so I followed them, and I subscribed, I watched them, and, I was all in. I was joining Bernie, Google Plus groups. You remember when Google Plus was still a thing? And then I was also getting into some other independent media people, because they were pointing out something that I was starting to notice. Media bias against Bernie. And that was kind of when I started realizing maybe this, the Democrats weren't exactly the most, keen on group of people than I thought they were. And then came the WikiLeaks, which pretty much proved everything that they were saying. So I pretty much was just like, yeah, if Bernie doesn't walk away with the nomination, I'm done. I'm not going to be a Democrat at any point in the future. Just done. I mean, granted, I couldn't vote at all, so it didn't really even matter that much. But I would never be supporting Hillary. She was the antithesis of all of my beliefs. Bernie represented everything I did. Hillary represented nothing. So there was literally no correlation. There was no way I would be supporting her. And I was pretty much just, no. Then the Democratic convention came, Bernie didn't win, so done. No Democrat. I even remember I sent an email to one of those automated DNC server thingies, where it was literally they said hey, will you support Hillary Clinton? And it was no, I'm not supporting Shillery. And he's ha. And then they were you cannot respond. I'm ha, got him. So yeah, I'm just well, what do I do now? And that was when I came across, Wikipedia showed me 2 more people that I would probably be a bit more friendly to, which kicked off the next phase, which I call Left-Libertarian. The 2 people I'm of course talking about are Gary Johnson and Jill Stein. I liked literally all of Jill Stein's platform because it was an extension of Bernie's, and Gary 55%, weed, war. But at that point I was just done, and I wanted to burn the 2-party duopoly down. So I was pretty much just yeah, one of these 2. I'm perfectly fine with either of these 2. I also had a friend at the time who was a very big libertarian, so he was kind of my Gary Johnson liaison bubble. Yeah, Gary Johnson, cool. I mean, I still hold Gary Johnson as a really good candidate and a really good guy. But I mean, if I could go back, I'd probably tell 2016 me, be dude, I don't think you should be giving Gary Johnson too much credibility. But again, I liked Gary Johnson and I liked Jill Stein. And I wanted to burn the 2-party duopoly down. I was down. Then, that was, of course, obviously where my interest in the third-party sphere came around. And while looking at these 2 platforms and learning more about the Libertarian and Green Party, I came across other third-party candidates like Daryl Castle, Evan McMullen, Rocky De La Fuente, Gloria La Riva, and the like. Though I did have a bit of a misguided effort. And to be fair, technically, it was kind of Gary Johnson's fault. You see, Gary Johnson, he was, I remember there was this video about, top libertarian ideologies, and one of the things it described was a cosmetarian. A libertarian that is, they, disguise their viewpoints, just so that they are, don't come off as too radical. Gary Johnson wasn't talking too much about, like, the fact that he wanted to abolish the Department of Education. He was talking more about, like, ending our interventionist regime change wars and ending the drug war. There was a slight misguided effort. You see, due to that, and another thing happening around the same time was I took the political compass test, and it put me in the left-libertarian quadrant, the quadrant that I've called home for a million years. And it was the word libertarian that kind of set me off. You see, I was so, it was misguided, but I felt that the Libertarian Party would be the best method to do all this. I kind of slightly, I supported both Johnson and Stein, but I was kind of like, Johnson's in a better position. Johnson's, he's higher, he's got less of a leap to do, especially considering he, in the end, he did get, 3% of the vote, whereas Jill Stein got, 2%. So, yeah, technically libertarians were in a better position to tear down the two-party system. Plus, I was focused more on the libertarian aspect of left libertarianism, and I assumed that the Libertarian Party didn't discriminate. They kind of do, but some don't. Plus, they had good spokespeople like Gary Johnson, Penn Jillette, and Freedom Tunes. Now, I did break from this eventually because, Adam Kokesh was kind of like the breaker because he was outright saying abolish federal government, and I'm like, it's not necessarily true. It's not a good point. And, I was also looking at Bernie's platform, I still like democratic socialism, but wasn't necessarily as, I was also okay with libertarianism, I guess, so I was kind of like a mix of the two. And then came the most recent, I guess, phase. Progressive social democrat, not democratic socialist. Basically, every time I was looking at that thing, I was always emphasizing the fact that Bernie wasn't really a democratic socialist. He was a social democrat. And I'm one of those guys that really, really is into particulars. I'm in particular, in the worldwide spectrum, I'm center-left, so I technically kind of consider myself center-left. But in America, we have such a weird, skewed political spectrum, I'm not considered center-left. Even though, to be honest, I kinda am. Okay, maybe not as much anymore, but, I was definitely more center-left when I started my YouTube channel, I guess. A bit before I started my YouTube channel, and, during, the beginning years, I was definitely less radical. And as the years go on, I'm, even though it hasn't been that long, it started in, 2018. I started my YouTube channel, mid to late 2018, and now it's 2 years later. So definitely I'm not, it hasn't gotten too far, but I am definitely starting to realize that I am kind of shifting further to the left. It doesn't help that some people who consider themselves social democrats, it's really? That's a social democrat? Juan Guaido. He's considered a social democrat. And social democrats kind of helped pave the way for third way, so I've been gradually kind of distancing myself from social democracy. But I also acknowledge social democracy is probably the best bet to actually change our political spectrums. Though I guess I technically am kind of still in the mix of civil libertarianism, libertarian socialism, or whatever. Left libertarianism, social democracy, kind of all that jazz. Progressive, even though it's kind of a broad term. It's kind of the best way to describe myself. Left wing, obviously. But yeah, this is pretty much rambling at this point because I mean, that's just kind of where I am now. Like, I usually, like, I have agreements with libertarianism on some things. Greens, a lot more. Though I don't see myself tying myself to a particular political party, so that's why I'm a registered independent. Like, I mean, I consider registering green, but, semi-close primaries, kind of wanted to have the ability to vote for Bernie in 2020, so I had to be independent. Being an independent's cool, though. I'm not tied to any ideology, I'm tied to my ideas. So yeah, since this is pretty much rambling, and we've pretty much gotten to all the points, that's pretty much all I have to say. Happy 100, here's to 100 more. Thanks for watching this video. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and click that bell to be notified when a future video of mine comes out. And if you're interested in more content from me, you can go to my website, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, or Quora, join my Discord, or check out my articles on the Independent Political Report.